The idea was to perform part 2 of the show in public places that seemed appropriate and to have it streamed live onto the internet via a website, moneyisasinnocentasthegun.com. So I found a book in a second-hand shop, roughly the same size as a festival programme, and then cut out the pages the shape of a tablet, so it slipped in there nicely, and then cut a hole in the front of the book just where the camera was, and then pasted onto the book the programme brochure of whichever festival it was, so it looked like a person was standing wherever they were in whatever situation, holding a festival programme, watching. So we performed it in a lot of different types of places, with a lot of different responses from people, culminating really at the Edinburgh Festival in doing it in the headquarters of the Royal Bank of Scotland, where they were very keen to try and get me out and interrupt my performance. Some people had come to watch it that had seen it online, and some other people were just queuing in the bank and were just stayed around watching, and then the management and the security were trying to get me to stop and get me to leave, and in the end they called the police, and the police came, and that was interesting. And then we did it in lots and lots of different places, did it as part of the Brighton Festival, did it in all over the place, and it was very good.
This is a spoken word show. Thank you very much for coming.
Sound check, sound check. Can you hear me? Is that loud enough for everybody? Can everybody hear me?
It's in 3 parts. There's a story, a long piece of verse, and a short poem.
Part of a spoken word show called Money is as Innocent as the Gun. Poetry, whether that is in French, English, Anglais.
I just go through from one to the other to the end.
This is a part of a spoken word show. It's part 2. Just a long piece of verse. Okay.
I'd like to ask for some audience participation at this point, if I may. Okay? No matter how much thought we give money, nothing is bought but worry.
It's got a very short and defensive fuse, money's muse. Often, my meditations on money, it will just refuse. I really don't understand what it has to lose, money, and why its muse should get so funny when I'm just searching for money's inspiration. It's as if I'm making some kind of allegation.
I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of this journey into money, we don't find some tubby, bald North American actor sitting, sweating in a cave, saying, "Don't worry, don't worry." All money appearing in this work is fictitious.
Any resemblance to real money, dead or alive, is purely coincidental. I've had to insert that, otherwise money's muse was going to go fundamental. Thinking about money. A synonym for worry.
An inspiration to bury my head in the sand.
We've come up here to Edinburgh to do this part 2 of Money is as Innocent as the Gun. Hello. Hi, I'm a friend of Joanna and Louise. They suggested I come and speak to you. We're doing a show, and we're doing a documentary about the show. It appears that dreams only come true if they make money. And money only comes true if it makes dreams. Now there is a vicious circle in which hopes become money's schemes. So I got some sand to go in a bucket the other day, and I know realistically it won't keep the debt collectors at bay, but when my head is inside, I can't hear a sound. Though as of yet, no relief has been found, because I can hear someone thinking. And it's me! It is about money!
I was thinking about money. And it might just be me, but maybe it's a forgery.
Well, it started off started just thinking about money. I was working as a welfare rights advisor for a solicitors in Leeds, and it did coincide with the government stopping access to legal aid for people who were in the position that needed my help and assistance with their appeals against the DWP's decisions or the council's decisions or the inland, the revenue's decisions.
Minted? Have you ever heard such a smokescreen of a word for something that is just printed? And if money is just printed, just a print, then deep down, we are all skint.
I had another option of working in the courts, but I'd made the decision that if I'm going to become a writer, then I read somewhere in a book anywhere, that you've got to just give everything else up and just concentrate on what you're doing, and it really, really helps, because then you don't have to worry about what time you go to bed.
Skint. The past participle of to skin. Money, thin skin. Circulation, skin thin. Imagination, thin skin. With limitless degrees of
Maybe I shouldn't be expressing such thoughts in a public place. I could end up in the courts with charges to face of treason for even suggesting there's a reason to believe that legal tender is just a poisonous printed paper pretender.
You know, the consequences of the 2008 crash are still reverberating quite heavily, and one of the ideas was the idea of money being a forgery. That was kind of an idea that kind of reverberated a lot of different kind of ways to try and think of what is authentic, what is genuine, what is something that we connect to as real. Yes, the shop's gone. And what was previously the Edinburgh Woolen shop, which is a very authentic looking shop full of items that look like they've been produced somewhere in Scotland. Lots of tartan and wool, but actually we were told that these garments were actually produced in Bangladesh, in that particular building that was burnt down. Had locked fire doors and other such horrendous crimes against the people that were working in there.
Serfdom had to be abolished along with slavery as well. Who would have bought what we made if we hadn't been paid for the pleasure of turning this earth into money's treasure?
Now these nails and wooden racks have been exported to warmer climes, waiting for the United Nations to define class war crimes. Because to call them accidents will look more like repeated episodes of money's old times. Money begs questions. See, saw, sighs, empty cradle, rocking eyes, beseeching answers, silent air, carbonized goodbyes. So now what we earn is of little concern, it's by the by, 'cause there's to borrow and to borrow and to borrow, and all our yesterdays could have led us to another age.
But it's gone now, and there's this shop here now.
Sorry, I've clearly misunderstood this situation. It's a magical ritual incantation, minting, not just copying, not just printing, and we are all under its spell in this ritual whirlpool of a wishing well of lullaby, borrow, sell, lullaby, borrow, sell, lullaby, borrow, sell.
When money makes money, we are awash with coincidence. Money is not worth the paper that it's printed on. Is that a bit strong? Okay, money's worth more than the paper that it's printed on. That sounds like a con. Okay, so money's worth more and less than the paper that it's printed on?
Isn't that a contradiction? But money is worth more and less than the paper that it's printed on. How can what something is worth be more and less than what it is? Oh, by the way, this is not a quiz, but I must ask, when and where did we decide what is worth money?
Oh, have I got that the right way around? That does sound a bit funny. When and where did we decide what is worth money or not? We haven't left it up to those who've got so much more than a lot. I think not. Because when you've got that kind of money, it's really got you.
And when you haven't got money, it's really got you then. So where and when did we decide what is worth money or not? I'm assuming that decision was not based on anything we have or haven't got, because I think I'm talking about the subplot.
The real we, the social substance of what we like to think of as the basis of democracy. Oh dear, oh dear. We haven't left it up to money to decide for itself what it is or isn't worth. How are we going to explain that to our children and our children's children? Here's an idea. Tell them money is not of this earth. So how did it get here? In a meteor shower discovered by monks in an ivory tower? And where did it come from?
Been doing it for about 2 years. I used to be, before I gave up my day job, yeah, I worked for solicitors as a welfare benefits advisor doing appeals. Yeah, when you're preparing appeals, the way you use language, yeah, it's really been helpful. In philosophy, I studied philosophy as well, so that's another thing that's really good for language, because you
So how did it get here? And where did it come from? I don't know. But I've got some. Darwin. Science. Fiction. Maybe that's at the heart of this contradiction. Religion and its royal refrain, in a coalition with the banks and their government's domain, circulated a calculated faith of measured mystery.
And the banks took a slash, and money made a splash on the stage of history, a golden shower.
mouth agog, steaming fog of class war, and the judiciary, money's old friend, amended no, repealed the Christian law on crucifixion.
Though the Industrial Revolution, according to science fiction, was a mass alien conscription, the evidence suggests it was more like some kind of genocidal crucifixion. Though we were like an alien race with a new machine face that did not know our place, we were treated worse than cattle, worked to the bone until the so premature death rattle. Men, women, children in toil, worked until the blood began to boil, and
Serum builds up in the perineum sac, just like the Christian saviour's heart attack and the transubstantiation of almost an entire population. And money rose on the third day, and we were free to work for money and to pay. Though money, of course, could not have got off the ground if we'd continued working for free, serfdom had to be abolished, along with slavery.
We've come up here under the invitation of a friend who's pally with a person who claims to be someone no one knows the identity of.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I'm the volunteer secretary for Simpsons Special Care Babies that supports the neonatal unit at the Simpsons Centre for Reproductive Health. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Hey, hello, can everyone hear me now? Right, my name's Alan, and I'm going to auction some pictures tonight by local artist Robin Banks, otherwise known as Banksy. He's not going to sign anything, authenticate anything, so there's nothing, no guarantee whatsoever. You've got to make your own mind up as to the authenticity of it.
No, it's not here. Yeah. But no one's believing it. They're all just like, no, they would say that.
460, 600, 650, 650 pounds. You get it, sir.
I was just passing and I saw all the excitement and came in to see what it was. And then I heard it was for a very good cause and I liked the painting.
I bought the Rat and the Marilyn. I think I've done okay with the price. I'm glad it's going to charity and I'll be keeping them. They're going to be staying on my... put them on my wall in my house. And that's
straight again. A Banksy. There it is. A genuine Banksy.
A genuine Banksy.
You couldn't write it, eh? So what do you reckon the total was on the sale? This girl would like to know what your show's about.
We are going to a refugee camp where we are going to deliver some donations from the people of colder day. Shoes, boots, socks,
credit card and the mortgage had been the rage before. There'd have been no need to abolish slavery. It could have been expanded on the grounds of discrimination to include 99% of the nation. It's the siren on the rocks, you see. Money. It came as a shock to me, money, that it put the mock in democracy, money. But now I understand what they mean by liquidity. Taking the piss, money.
Your destination is on the left.
Here we go. Ground zero. Okay.
Okay, so I'll switch it off.
Yep.
Time at the borrow then. Level of passion.
Yes, we are going to the capital of France, and we are going to be with lots of people, and we are going to be protesting. I understand the French, they wear moustaches. Some are real, some are false. Mine is real. If I'm tested, please test me in the riot. Yes, they will be pulling on my moustache, the riot police. They will say I'm a real French person, not a pretend French person. And we may be in situations that involve confrontation. We may not.
Worth is money, and money is worth. It's like all the gods we've ever imagined have descended on this earth, and we really are now barb-mired in chance, hooked, hardwired to dance. Are we hardwired to dance to money's siren song while we suck along a lifetime through last straws that give us such, I'm not going to put up with this anymore. Pause. I'm going to hack into the computers of those banks and spread out the numbers. Pause. I'm going to get together with my friends and we're going to occupy money. Occupy money. Pause.
Chemical substances. So the first thing is the gas. And so when they put the gas, the first thing you have to do is don't panic. Then if the gas is coming, then you can walk away, but walk away against the wind so that you don't go in there. If there's someone comes to hit us, we will do like this. And then they only have to lift a little bit and you will already break your fingers. So that's not a good idea. And the best thing you can do is stay together, make a fist. This is our weakest part. Do like this and like this. And then hopefully it will not hurt too much.
So the maximum fine for participating in an unauthorized action is €15,000 and 1 year in jail.
Government by possession of the people's fear for their possessions. In spiralling repossessions of recurring recessions.
Father, what did you do during the Great Recession? Oh, I did rather well, actually. I did rather well. Dad, wake up.
Dad. Recessions. Just callous, calculated concessions made by governments to those who would take and make possessions of us and what is ours, the foundations of all those skyscraping towers.
Recessions, recurring recessions. Money can't learn lessons. Money does not need to learn lessons. Money is more, drum roll.
Casual. It appears. Hi. I haven't got one of those, no.
Straight ahead and then right side.
The more money there is, the more everything's worth. But the more money there is, the less money is because the less the numbers are worth. But the more everything's worth. The less money there is, now you might want to brace yourselves for this. The less money there is, the less everything's worth. But the less money there is, the more money is, because the more the numbers are worth. Is it of this earth?
Supply and demand, is that some kind of sleight of hand? Some trick of money's light? Some illusion? Some dubious conclusion based on the notion that money's circulation is our motion?
For the sake of some alien spaceship's accumulation? Have you noticed the design of those skyscrapers are getting more aerodynamic? Supply and demand, is that some kind of extraterrestrial sleight of hand? The more there is of something, the more it's worth.
Because the more there is to go around, more needs can be explored and found. The less there is of something, the more it's worth. Is that a perspective from on this earth? Or just the less that we are worth?
Money is just numbers. More or less, more or less, more or less. More money, more numbers. Less money, less numbers.
Money, less numbers. Whoa, money, numberless. Everything would be worthless. Priceless, worthless, priceless, priceless, worthless, worthless, priceless, priceless, worthless, worthless, priceless, priceless, worthless, worthless, You say priceless, I say worthless. Let's call the whole thing the whole thing. The whole thing, the whole thing. The whole thing, the whole thing, the whole thing, the whole thing, the whole thing.
So, we want to say that tomorrow we open the climate emergency state. And the place to do that, we chose the Eiffel Tower. So the meeting point is under the Eiffel Tower, and we're gonna make human chains. Why the Eiffel Tower? Of course, this is the international symbol of Paris for the entire world. It's also the symbol of the COP21. The Eiffel Tower is a symbol of the industrial society, the productivist society that creates climate change.
I have one question for you. So after this weekend, what is going to happen? Are we going to go home and are we going to stop? Or are we going to continue to mobilize and build up this massive movement?
The whole thing, the whole thing, the whole thing, the whole thing. Oh, GDP, as simple as do, re, mi, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, GDP, gross domestic product, a measurement of output in a particular place. The input, I can't quite put a name to that face. You. The subversive we, the hidden collectivity, the we that dare not speak its name in this divisive, hidden money game.
As I said, it came as a shock to me. Money, that it put the mock in democracy, money. But thinking about it, this is more like some kind of theocracy, where money, debt, is now the sin without origin.
A transition of transgression did transpire. The shadow of the skyscraper, shaped like a spire. Towers of power, powers of debt, spiraling nowhere, never to be met. No longer the source of original sin. This oh so weak and wicked fleshful skin. It's now you can buy shares in. My flesh is weak, but not as weak as my credit rating.
Which makes it a little bit difficult internet dating. F-U-C-K. So yesterday. F-U-C-C me for unlawful carnal knowledge. Becomes for unpaid credit card. Just have to pronounce that last C a little bit hard.
No longer is it required for us to have clergy's sermons ringing in our ears. There are much more profitable insecurities and fears for us to realise through the scripture of the advertise. Money begs questions. With an empty stomach, blurred concentration of the child's attempted separation of the words from the page, with a self-fulfilling whispered rage behind the scenes of inadequacy's stage. Oh, but that those words could draw more than tears onto that page, and that child could walk out onto that stage and with eloquence make real that rage. Money begs questions like it hasn't eaten all day. I'll do my impersonation of money begging questions, if I may. Money begging questions. One of the most difficult mimes in the book. Often mistaken for being forsaken whilst being mistook. Being mistook while being forsaken should not be mistaken for being lost whilst orally taken.
Oh, Father, why hast thou forsook me?
There's a biblical loss in translation. The clergy should have been given a clear and unequivocal clarification. But trust in banks or in any church, no. Neither has a conscience to search. Both live and breathe by the same spirit, an abstraction without limit, eternal credit line. Faith and numbers combine, cloud nine financial instrument design, and another miraculous transubstantiation without a shred of a shroud of fabrication. Through the credit default swap incantation, derivative sin without origin, spinning, investing, vested veil, and now our debts, like our sins, are up for sale. Spend and ascend.
We have a proposal about climate change, about global warming, and we think it could be the base of the deal for the COP, for the global agreement, based on the fact that money is as innocent as a gun.
In a dynamic
Later, I was here when Syriza won the election with a big banner saying "En Greece, en France, résistance."
Spend and reoffend, spend and condescend. Spend and ascend, spend and descend, ascend, descend, spend, 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 spend. Skin.
Justice.
I say climate. Justice. Justice. Climate. Justice. 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 Climate. Climate. Justice. Over there.
Yeah, they're not letting people through. Arc de Triomphe. That way.
Yes, I heard under the state of emergency that if more than 2 people get together with a common political message, that's considered a demonstration and is illegal under the state of emergency.
Yeah, we're confusing people with our kind of save the ice for hockey thing.
Yeah? Everything you said about money was true.
Oh, thanks.
Stash? Well, have the...
Past participle of to skin, money, thin skin, circulation, skin, thin imagination, thin skin, with limitless degrees of separation. Is debt what we are bandaged in? Bondage. Bandage, bondage, bondage, bandage, bondage, bandage, bandage, bondage, bondage, bondage. You said bondage, I said bandage. Let's call the whole thing a kinky first aid hostage situation. A kinky first aid hostage situation? 99% of every nation in a kinky first aid hostage situation? Sorry, excuse me. I'm suffering from sham shock. Sham shock? It's a condition you get when you've been lied to a lot. It's very common in a sham shockracy of a democracy that's more like a theocracy, where money debt is now the sin against the churches of money, which is topsy-turvy and not funny. Because if money, the manifestation of this imaginary spirit, which the banks and their governments have without limit, where's the time and the place for the source of all grace? The human spirit that thrives when what's yours is mine and mine is yours.
and flowers in the beauty of a common cause. Let's unhinge money's doors and make those scary towers, the scary powers, ours. Let us disobey. It's just too easy to say.
Pauper faith and beggar belief and make our own relief from this money thief, this money state that flies the self-interest rate higher than a kite, with a real unwritten right to life and liberty is money makes you free. Money makes you free.
Money makes you free. Money fakes us free. Because if freedom is meant to be ours, not something circulated after the ransom's been paid to those golden-powered, showered towers, then freedom will be found and lived and loved in the weave of the fabric of our interaction, not in the grip of some numbered expansion or contraction in reaction to the movement of a fraction of a percent, because then we are still a frightened animal, except this time, we don't even know we've got a cent. You fill up my senses like a man in a forest.
Revolution! 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 Is there a contradiction for freedom to have a fate? Not in a money state, because a money state is a criminal caper. The difference between a money state and a police state. After the scary knock on the door in a police state, they take you away for something you might say. After the scary knock on the door in a money state, you lose your home, your family, they take your belonging away for something you couldn't pay. A money state is a criminal caper, and the smoke screen is the ballot paper, because this periodic ability to vote is just a variation on the sacrificial goat, except the trick this time is we are meant to be the gods to appease, please. Democracy to money is similar to a disease. The further that freedom is pulled away from the ability to pay, there, lurking in the shadows, is freedom's doomsday. Ever come anywhere close to red, a world about to dawn, black?
Democracy will find itself like an unwanted puppy in a river, in a sack.
When money makes money, there can be such a boss with coincidence. Money made Hitler and his like, not just their fear and loathing of the disabled, unemployed, travellers, gypsies, socialists, communists, homosexuals, Jews. Money had the right to, and it did choose. Hate can't fund an election campaign. Money did, and money will, no matter how cruel, inhuman, and insane. And you think money's changed? Well, it looks and it tastes pretty much the same to me, and it does not give an FUCC about the practice of democracy. When money makes money, we can be the dross with coincidence. Poetry treats money like a bad smell. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Nothing rhymes here.
Nothing to tell. Money treats poetry in a nutshell. In a nutshell. Just ripples on a wishing well.
Yeah. It was a really good performance.
Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Great. What are you doing here?
I'm just here trying to catch the last day, see what it's like, before I go to Brussels. I'm doing research on the EU's Arctic policy through energy and climate change sort of thinking.
Right.
Trying to look at sort of unpacking some of these narratives that you were talking about, but also, this dependence on energy, how that kind of turns into climate change and how they try to reduce climate change while still being dependent on energy.
Right.
It's interesting.
Sounds very interesting, yeah.
Experiments are being carried out on this universal equivalent, known as cash, Scientists are circulating its particles at high speed and they're letting them crash. And in the core of the aftermath of this collision, there's an interesting vision.
Anti-money is real. It's qualities. It's something you can touch, something you can judge, something you can feel. The banks and their governments are more than a little concerned about these experiments because it turns out under the microscope the majority of anti-money is made up of matter and energy and some other stuff. And there's enough to clothe, to feed, to house and to educate every man, woman and child on this earth.
Enough as enough. Not some abstract comparative equivalent worth. Now, I know anti-money sounds funny, but to us unscientific folk, gravity was just a joke. So we learn how to fly. When money makes money, we are awash with coincidence. Maybe this game of equivalence is going to have to be redefined, because it turns out the Earth does mind the equivalent becoming the real. Because then the Earth is just a notional part of any deal, a bargain basement, a fire sale, flood damage, steel. And the real is? And the deal is? Our equivalent-fueled actions are not even fractions of percentages of numbers on a screen, regurgitating abstraction over and over and over and over for the sake of extraction of more to the power of more.
What is money for? Who is money for? Hold on, hold on, hold on, I hear you say. Why so ambivalent about this universal equivalent? Surely it's just a means of exchange. It's nothing to estrange us. It's a way to rearrange us.
And the history of rearrangement through this convention, too numerous to mention, has given it more than a bad name, but what can you expect without any conscience, without any honour, without any shame, and still there is poverty and the poor to try and to blame. There's a crisis in the brand. Money. Offshore and on land, honey.
Jump in on this, but I used to work for the RSC.
RSC? Oh, it's in the Royal Shakespeare Company.
Yeah. Right. And I have seen the most amazing actors on stage. I've seen prologues done brilliantly. I've never seen anything in my entire years of watching theatre and acting as what you just performed now.
Oh,
it was absolutely phenomenal. I feel privileged that I listened to that. Honestly, I really do.
You hit it okay. I was worried about the microphone. I thought it went a bit far, mate.
I've worked for the RSC for like 20 years. I've seen Judi Dench, I've seen Ian McKellen, and you were simply brilliant.
Oh, great.
Your stage presence and your deliverance is absolutely...
I felt a bit shaky, actually.
There is no Shakespearean prologue or anything on stage at the moment that ever comes close to that.
Oh, that's marvellous for you to say that. I can't wait to tell my daughter you said that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So, to the rebranding of this universal equivalent and not such a long standing. There'll be an opening ceremony, of course, that goes without saying. The televised depiction of the history of our paying for everything that's always already been ours. Is that the sound of more showers filling this whirlpool of a wishing well? Lullaby, borrow, sell. Lullaby, borrow, sell. Lullaby, borrow,
sell. There is a dictatorship of accumulation to be overcome with an ideology that the parts do equal the sum. Maybe this their money is the last dark art of creating the illusion of keeping us together or keeping us apart. Hold on, hold on.
I hear you say. You definitely did say earlier on that we were all under money's spell in this whirlpool of a wishing well together day after day. But some of us are more lulled than lulling.
Was spun against than spinning. Banks and their governments are like churches creating sin for their sinning. 99% to be almost precise, at the mercy of this loaded money dice with a price on our heads or tails, counterfeit spliced behind money's veils. Has money made us the forgery? Humanity, a case of mistaken, misshapen identity. When money makes money, we are the loss with coincidence.
And our absence is yours. And your absence is ours.
Let's dismantle those hostage-taking, dictating towers of golden, showering powers. Money is just numbers. For our waking slumbers to repeat like sheep to help us sleep work. Hush, those numbers. And what kind of quiet would there be?
And in that quiet, what would it mean to be free, to be heard? Would that be the real beginning of the word? Words. And our words would be the only bonds.
Stories of gods or faith. Which came first? The water or the thirst? Well, we're sort of 90% water, so our water is thirst and our thirst is water. So we, the 99%, we can overcome this money as the innocent and quench each other's thirst. And these money bonds burst.
These money bonds break for our children and our children's children's sake. Can we allow money to decide for itself what it is or
that has
isn't
no
worth?
inherent worth. Could cost the earth. The time has passed to pause, to sit behind locked doors, sucking through last straws.
Rise. And we need to break and we need to recreate money's laws. Money is as innocent as the gun, an inverting reflection from the deification of the sun. This innocence, it cannot feel the difference on a cheek between a first and a last breath, so to speak. Money is as innocent as the gun. Are we incurring abstraction, bringing everything under one? This innocence, it cannot see the difference between how children thrive and how they're just stay alive.
Money is as innocent as the gun.